Two liars, two frauds on divergent paths since the 26th of September, reunited today, Donald Trump, liar, and Amy Coney Barrett, liar. The story of the judge who has already decided the case in her mind, and the start of her Senate hearing, also known as Super Spreader the Sequel, in a moment. First, so Trump says he is now immune from COVID-19. Quote, I can't get it and can't give it. Regeneron has cured him. Cured him of what? He's still a psychopath. He is still negligently or deliberately a mass murderer. He's still lying and still having his doctor put out lies, deliberate, easily disproved lies about Trump's condition that should cost that doctor his Navy commission and his license as a physician. Because only one of these two things can be true. There is either no test that shows the presence of COVID-19, but tells you are no longer capable of transmitting it, and Trump and Dr. Conley are lying about how you can get a virus that is currently infecting more than 50,000 Americans a day, a virus that is currently the dominant life form on this planet. Or there is such a test proving non-transmissibility, and Trump is keeping it to himself and not letting anybody else use it. Oh, and the Regeneron thing, why does he keep mentioning this by name, trying to sell the stuff as a miracle cure for the virus, whose tightening grip on this country is entirely his fault, insisting he will give Regeneron to everybody free? It's a money scam, another goddamn Donald Trump money scam, because there is always a goddamned Donald Trump money scam. The New York Times reported over the weekend that Trump pitched this bit of theater to his enablers. After walking out the door of Walter Reed Hospital, he would struggle for several steps. Then, thanks to Regeneron, slowly unbutton his shirt to reveal that under it he was wearing the logo of Superman. Am I making this up? I wish I were making this up. Instead, they settled for that video from the White House. You remember it? Trump pimping the experimental COVID drug manufactured by Regeneron, saying, I call it a cure, insisting he felt perfect, even as his eyes continued to look more shrunken and more empty than usual, and even as he continued to have trouble breathing and speaking, and even as they had to edit out something in the middle. The Regeneron video had everything but a 1-800 number to call. Order today, and you'll also receive this My Virus Healing Travel Pillow. Won't cost you a nickel. There will be a small fee for shipping and handling. It's a scam. There is always a scam. As late as 2017, maybe in 2018, maybe in 2019, but certainly as late as 2017, one of the stockholders in Regeneron was Donald Trump. Regeneron, whose billionaire CEO is now worth $400 million more than he was last March, and who has been a member at the National Westchester Golf Club in Briarcliff, New York, owned by Donald Trump. Regeneron, which not 3 months ago received $450 million in Operation Warp Speed funding from Donald Trump. Regeneron, whose CEO went on TV yesterday touting his own drug that still hasn't been approved by anybody, and the alleged efficacy of which is based solely on how well Donald Trump is, when it looks like Trump has now colored his entire head, not just his hair, with Easter egg dye. And oh, by the way, if you saw the Regeneron CEO on TV, it looks like he uses Easter egg dye too, and he purports to be a scientist. Regeneron, whose stock price went up $50 a share a week ago, and $6 more a share Friday, and $3 today, even though they only have 50,000 doses of this stuff, whose spokesman says, sure, the CEO knows Trump, but that's just because they were neighbors. They never had regular contact or talked any business until this year, when they started talking about COVID-19. The Regeneron scam is Trump trying to raise the stock price of his pal's company. By the way, what if somebody was pushing the other drug that Trump was unexpectedly given in the hospital, and the company that makes it, Gilead, and it turned out that somebody also owned Gilead stock? Would that be a problem? Because you know who owned Gilead stock as recently as 2017? Trump. There is always a scam. If Trump were dying and the planet were literally blowing up as the lava spewed and the atmosphere burst into flames, Trump would turn to the body of the dead guy next to him and rifle its pockets to see if he could steal a $5 bill. There is always a scam. Speaking of scams, and speaking of Gilead, This whole thing, of course, started in the White House Rose Garden on 26 September at the formal nomination of Amy Coney Barrett as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. You know, the little shindig where Trump might as well have urged all the attendees, hey, before you leave, gather around a little closer so I can give you your going away present. And sure enough, what happens at the judge's Senate hearing as it opened today? Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who, just like Trump, is pretending he is cured of COVID-19, even though he was symptomatic 24 hours earlier, shows up without a mask and without any social distancing. He says he has a note from the congressional physician saying he is not contagious, except he lied about this. And the note only indicated that Lee claims to be cured and claims to not be contagious and claims to no longer be symptomatic. And all I could think was, is the Attorney General there by any chance? We will gloss past Judge Coney Barrett's opening statement. I will note it sounded like it was penned by somebody who thinks the greatest words ever written were their own at the start of fourth grade in the essay, What I Did on My Summer Vacation. We will go directly to the senator's opening statements. All the Democrats talk about protecting their constituents whose lives depend on Obamacare. All the Republicans talk about how dare the Democrats keep attacking the judge's religion. Except the only senators who brought up her religion were Republicans, the drowning Joni Ernst and the simpleton fop from Missouri, Junior Hawley. That's because try as they might to make it about her religion, the Republicans have failed to do so. This isn't about the judge's religion. I don't care if she's Catholic. I don't care if Joe Biden's Catholic. I was raised Unitarian. We care that you find some way to connect with the rest of the universe. Which brand you use, we do not care. But you would think that somewhere, someone besides Coney Barrett, who lets their faith erase their loyalty to the Constitution and the law, would have noticed the 34 COVID-19 infections and the 4 further infections that have broken out at the school her high school kids go to, and had some sense, that maybe this is a sign from God that he or she doesn't want her on the Supreme Court because she's a bald-faced liar. Just 3 years ago, the then Professor Coney Barrett was confirmed by the Senate to the U.S. Seventh Circuit Court. At no point in her conversations with senators, in the paperwork a nominee is required to file, at no point did she happen to mention the 2 times when she appeared as part of paid advertisements against abortion rights. In 2013, she signed her name to a newspaper ad that referred to, quote, the Supreme Court's infamous Roe v. Wade decision. In 2006, she signed her name to another newspaper ad that called for the, quote, end to the barbaric legacy of Roe v. Wade. That ad was produced by an organization that also called for the prosecution of any doctor who provided an abortion. That this is about Roe v. Wade is important, but it's not as important as the fact that Trump's flying Senate monkeys are trying to pack the Supreme Court during a pandemic with a judge who not only already made up her mind about the kind of case she is likely to have to rule on, but she had already made up her mind based on personal, not legal reasons, and she had already made up her mind and made her opinions public twice, and then she lied by omission in an attempt to cover up the fact that she has made up her mind and literally advertised her prejudice in 2 newspaper advertisements. She is a liar. This isn't about Catholicism. This isn't about any faith. This is about her prejudging a case, using her personal beliefs, and then lying about that. This is about her lying. As a jurist, much in the public eye these days, once noted, under oath to the Senate, quote, it is never appropriate for a judge to impose that judge's personal convictions, whether they derive from faith or anywhere else. You know who said that, right? Amy Coney Barrett at her confirmation hearing in 2017. Apparently she was lying about that as well. Ready for the headlines? If you are, every day we do the commentary and then a quick run through of what is breaking on the news from the other dimension known as Trump land. Regeneron, $3 up again at the close today. It's a scam. It's not just a scam about trying to sell you the idea that Trump is, as he wanted to pose himself as, Superman. But it's also a scam to make a pal more money, because that's all he can do. It's his default position. There's something very broken inside that brain. I perhaps will use one of these commentaries to try to explore the various options, but it doesn't really matter what's wrong with him. He's not, under the classic definition of the term, a functioning human being. They shouldn't let him near the golf courses, let alone the nuclear codes. Trump has tweeted a lot today. It's what he does when he panics. Heading to the greatest economy of all time, he wrote this afternoon, just as the evictions are starting across the nation, just as the airline industry is being essentially shut down, destroyed by the failure to make a deal on stimulus for COVID relief, just as countless people are going to lose their jobs in the weeks to come, and as we're spiking past 50,000 cases a day towards 60 and beyond, and as, by the way, the National Football League is moving towards probably having to abandon its season because you can't play sports outside of a bubble. Even baseball figured that one out. So yes, the greatest economy of all time, heading towards it. Not getting anywhere near it, but heading towards it. Our third note, how could this not have been a headline story last week? I'll have to admit, I didn't know it, and I didn't notice it go by, because the person it involves didn't make a big deal about this fact when it happened, nor did his father, who's in the news recently. When the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded last Friday, my God, don't tell Trump this, when the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded on Friday, Trump, of course, keeps boasting about not being nominated for this award several times, even though the first nomination turned out to have been on a forged nomination document. Perfect. And this newest nomination was made by a politician in Finland who plagiarized her own master's theses, is a raging Islamophobe, and has stated that the theory of evolution is not just a theory or perhaps mistaken, but is impossible. The theory of evolution, she says, is impossible. She seems to be providing excellent evidence for her claim. Not only did Trump not win the Nobel Peace Prize, but you know who did? The WFP, the World Food Program, an aid group that does what it says in its title. The longtime board chairman of the U.S. branch of the Nobel Prize-winning World Food Program was Hunter Biden. And a last note to leave you until we see you here again on Tuesday afternoon. Trump has told his campaign staff to put him on the road every day between now and the election, and his schedule through Saturday, I believe, of this week already reflects that. Axios reported this late last night and included a priceless quote, which I will read in its entirety. But not everyone thinks this is a good idea. One advisor said, he's going to kill himself. Thoughts and prayers. Good night and good luck.